get to the court. All right, we're in court. Captain, what's up? Things that we're looking at this morning.
Yes, Lily. You remember that after the elections, and on the 7th of January, John Dramani Mahama was sworn in as the president of the Republic. And then he appointed all his staff. The ministers have come on board. One very interesting directive that came out, it's on your screen here, was a letter that came from the Chief of Staff, Honorable Julius Deborah. And this letter was signed on the 10th of February, just this month. And the communique, or the information on the letter, is a directive to heads of various ministry institutions, public service institutions in Ghana, asking them to terminate recruitment that were, appointment that were people who were employed after the December 7th elections. And so that was the information to the heads of the various departments and all government institutions and all of that. So that has been made clear. But the new patriotic party who left office thought that, look, why are you revoking appointment of these Ghanaians? They are all Ghanaians, so why are you revoking the appointment? There were many who were of the belief that, look, persons who are associated with the NPP were quickly given employment, quickly put in there, just so that once they are out of power, still they have been able to satisfy those that they want to satisfy. And this government thinks that, look, once elections have been conducted and then you are out of power, you have no business. Whatever employment that you want to do, leave it to
the incoming administration
to do it. So that is the situation now. That directive is still there and all of that. Then yesterday, at the Supreme Court, Henry Nana Boakye, National Organizer of the NPP, went to the Supreme Court and is asking the Supreme Court to do some few things. Director, let's see the slides over there. So,
what declarations?
Yes, he's seeking an annulment of that particular directive that has been put out by the Chief of Staff. And he's saying very interesting, raising some declaratory, he's seeking some relief that he wants the Supreme Court by way of asking them to enforce or look at it by way of the directive that has been taken by the Chief of Staff. And so it is very, very, in the coming days, we'll see a lot of things happen, see a lot of the parties will be in court. And once they are in court, we'll be able to tell what exactly the pleasure of the court will be and all of that. So they've been seeking certain reliefs. And those reliefs, yes, very interesting reliefs, of course.
We have seen the
so we've seen the letter, so we need to see the reliefs.
Absolutely, the
right?
reliefs having detail that we want to project so that we'll go through. Yes, so that is the nature of relief that he's seeking in relation to what he has filed at the Supreme Court yesterday. And in fact, 5 of them are declaratory in nature. And of course, certain orders, consequential orders that is asking the Supreme Court to give. So you see the picture here of Henry Nana Boakye. And of course, you see the Attorney General. And the Attorney General is the principal legal advisor of the state. So once you drag government to court, it is the Attorney General you are taking to court. Once you take the Attorney General to court, you are suing the government. And this is the very first of the relief that he's seeking. So he makes the point to the fact that he's asking the Supreme Court to declare that that directive from the Chief of Staff on February 10 for the annulment of appointment and recruitment made in the public service of Ghana after December 7 is unconstitutional. And the Chief of Staff lacked the power to give such direction. But he's also been saying that, look, granted that the law or the Constitution allowed the Chief of Staff to make that particular directive, then the Supreme Court should declare that it is unconstitutional because it is without just cause. So even if the Chief of Staff has the power to make such directive, then he thinks that the Supreme Court should look at it based on provisions in the 1992 Constitution, specifically Article 191, and I was also talking about Article 58 with some provisions in there, saying that, look, even if he has that power, if we think that it's without cost, and same should be declared as unconstitutional. So we're going to go to the next slide again and see some of the things. Yes. So it's also seeking a declaration that any annulment, so if that directive that has been given so far, if it has taken effect, he's asking the Supreme Court to declare that that particular step that have been taken is unconstitutional, as same is in contravention of Article 191 that I've just spoken about, B of the 1992 Constitution. So this is one of the things that he has also been telling the Supreme Court in relation to that. Then, of course, he's also been seeking for some orders, some consequential orders in relation to that. So, Director, let's move on to the next slide. Okay, one more. Let's go to the next slide. And then, okay, so this is the order, the consequential order that he's seeking from the Apex Court, that an order in the nature of prohibitory injunction directed at the heads of government institutions to refrain from annulling the appointments and recruitment made in public service of Ghana after the December 7th election. So these are some of the things. In fact, in relation to that directive from the Chief of Staff, Julius Debra, the first action has landed at the Supreme Court, and in the coming days, the Supreme Court will sit on the matter, deal with the issue, and will know what the pleasure of the court will be as to whether those directive or that directive from the Chief of Staff was in law, or it has to, the Supreme Court has the power to revise it and all of that.
You know, it's interesting that Henry Nanabuachi quotes and bases, or should I say, justifies his reliefs with Article 191 of the Constitution. And Article 191 of the Constitution talks about the protection of public officers, right?
Absolutely.
And just to read it, it's got just two clauses, A and B, right? 191. So it says, a member of the public services shall not be A, victimized or discriminated against for having discharged his duties faithfully in accordance with the Constitution, or B, dismissed or removed from office or reduced in rank or otherwise punished without just cause.
Exactly.
So this is what, you know,
Absolutely.
Article
So
this is
191
absolutely.
says.
yeah, this is
So
why Henry Nanabuachi believes that the revocation
Yes.
of those appointments,
there's no just cause.
there's no just cause for it.
So the Supreme Court should speak. But he's been talking about why he has decided to initiate this, or that his capacity to go to the Supreme Court, and he based his capacity based on Article 2 provisions. So Article 2(1) of the 1992 Constitution, and this is why he went to the Supreme Court. That every person in Ghana, with that whatever his race, place of origin, political opinion, color, religion, creed, or gender, shall be entitled to the fundamental human rights and freedoms contained in this chapter, but subject to the qualifications and laws contained in this Constitution. So he thinks that yes, he's a Ghanaian, he is of sound mind, is somebody who is fit to initiate an action of this nature, so he's going to court on behalf of all these. In fact, before this action was even initiated, he made the point that, look, he was calling on some lawyers that are affiliated with the NPP to get ready, because they were definitely going to go to the Supreme Court to go and challenge that. So the first action, which borders on why the directive from the Chief of Staff, Julius Debra, on the 10th of February, asking that those who were appointed, those who were employed into the public service after December 7th election, when the NPP lost power, those appointments should be revoked. The first action has come, or has landed, at the Supreme Court.
All right, so we move away from this. We'll see how it plays out in court.
Exactly.
But we've been talking about the Council of State elections,
Yes.
and we're telling viewers that, you know, you've got some points and some juice on, you know, the Council of State, not the elections, the Council of State swearing in.
Yes,
Because
Yesterday.
the former Chief Justice Sophia Akuffo
was
Yeah,
there. So
was there.
as you can see on your screens, that is so we are limiting ourselves to these three, because if you look at the list that came, those who were sworn in yesterday,
31
these,
of them.
yes, these were persons who have played roles within the justice
Judiciary.
delivery system.
Yeah.
So you have Justice Vida Kutubanfo there, a former Justice of the Supreme Court, now retired. Then Justice Sophia Akuffo, the former Chief Justice, also a former Justice of the Supreme Court, retired. Then Betty Modi
Former
was the
AG.
former Attorney General, once upon a time a former Attorney General. So if you look at all these three, they are playing roles in relation to what this very administration. You guys were asking a question about why Sophia Akuffo in there as a former Chief Justice. So we do have Justice Georgina Chidora Wood, and he was a member during the ex-war administration, Council of State member.
Yes.
So the point is that there's no way there was going to be a repetition of having the same person in there. And then between that time and now, we have 3 former Chief Justices. So Justice Georgina Wood, Justice Sophia Akuffo,
and Justice Enin Yeboah.
Yes. So if you look at in all of them, you have to pick one. And you see the NDC picking Justice Enin Yeboah?
Not at all.
It was going to be very difficult. It was going to be very difficult because of the kind of perception or view that they have about him. And of course, people were talking about Justice Sophia Akuffo. We do know that she's a very vocal person. And then run up to the election, for the first time, we saw a Chief Justice on the streets.
Yeah.
On the streets.
With her colleagues.
Protesting,
With
demonstrating.
her colleague pensioners.
And she's somebody who doesn't fear to speak her mind.
Yeah.
She speaks.
She speaks truth to
Absolutely.
power. She's not afraid
absolutely.
to.
She said. And then Betty Modi-Drusu,
Yeah.
once upon a time, under President Mills, he was the Attorney General. And so these persons have been part of the Council of State members who have been sworn in. And we thought that as part of court today, we need to let you know those who played roles in the legal setting, they are still playing roles, and the kind of expectation that have been put on them by way of the Council of State members, and then the swearing on all of that. But Justice Sophia Akuffo yesterday has been speaking to the media, and there were 2 issues that came to the fore. First, there was a question in relation to the petition that was sent to the president, the former president, about the removal of the Chief Justice, the current Chief Justice, Justice Tokonu. She has something to say. And also, she raised a point about how justices are appointed to the Supreme Court. She is calling for transparency and a more open way of doing things. Let's hear from Justice Sophia Akuffo, the former Chief Justice.
That has nothing to do with the Council of State at this stage. It has not reached the Council of State. I'm not going to prejudge anything. I have not seen what I've seen of the petition is what I saw in the newspaper. I have not seen the Chief Justice's response. And no, I will not do that. I will not do that. I'm not her boss. I'm not the one. Yes, as far as I'm concerned, she's a judge performing her judicial function, and she's a Chief Justice performing her administrative function. There might be some reforms. The methodology for the appointment and selection of the selection and appointment of judges to the superior courts. That needs to change. I have already spoken about it many times, and I still stand by that because in the 21st century, we need a more transparent method of selecting people to assure that it is always by merit.
Justice Sophia Akuffo, the retired Chief Justice.
You gotta love
of the
that
Republic
woman,
of
man.
Ghana.
Yeah.
I remember the time that he joined Bola for Star Chat, and there was had a date with Bola on Star Chat one of the moments, and she does a lot of things and all of that. She's an open person. She speaks her mind, very frank, straight to the point. She doesn't massage things the way. And I remember the many times that she has presided over cases at the Supreme Court and all of that. And one of the cases that still lingers in my mind, and when members of Parliament came to the Supreme Court and then they were prioritizing the word honorable, he said, "No, you can't honorable. How did you get the title honorable and all of that?" So you have to know where to use it and where not to use it and all of that. So she's been speaking in relation to things that will happen, and especially with regard to how justices of the Apex Court are appointed and all of that. But there's one case that is coming on today, and this action started back in 2018. Professor GHOne, the former Audit Service board chair, and then the current national chairman of the NDC, Johnson Esi Ketia, where Professor GHOne sued Johnson Esi Ketia for defamation, and they're seeking some 15 million Ghana cedis as a defamation and damages. That case is still before the court. I remember that during the course of the election, a lot of things happened and all of that. But the parties are back in court. The case is moving steadily. So today they are expected back in court again, and we'll follow it up and let you know, or let our viewers know what is happening in relation to this very matter. So that's all we have for you by way of court today, this morning.